The Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada is one of the 9 unions that make up the North American division. But there are a few things about the SDACC that make us unique. Geographically, we are the largest union in the Adventist Church. We include all 10 provinces, the 3 territories, and the French islands of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, just off the shores of Newfoundland. Our territory includes nearly 10 million square kilometers of area. Canada is the home of some of the most culturally diverse cities in the world, places like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Our congregations in these cities reflect the diversity of population. Our ministry seeks to connect every person around us to Jesus, regardless of race, culture, or gender. In addition to our churches, the Church in Canada facilitates a variety of ministries such as Adventist education through elementary schools, secondary schools like Kingsway and Parkview Adventist Academy, and our own Burman University. Then there are media ministries like It Is Written Canada, Hope Channel Canada, and a variety of Christian radio ministries and modes of broadcast. ADRA Canada serves as a humanitarian agency abroad and provides disaster intervention here at home. Our conferences sponsor long-term healthcare facilities for the aging or disabled. We continue to explore new ways of connecting with the blind, the deaf, our seniors, those learning a new language, and other ministry opportunities through Adventist Ministries of Compassion. This innovative ministry provides for a closer connection between those served and local congregations. Our church is also very interested in the religious freedom of people throughout the world who are being marginalized because of their faith. We support and encourage efforts on their behalf through our connections with a variety of like-minded people and agencies. Why do we do these things? In all these, we proclaim Christ, nurture believers, and serve humanity. Because you see, our business is to get as many people headed to the kingdom just as fast as we can. There are so many stories we could talk about, but today we are going to look at 3. The first one takes us to Ontario, where a school of evangelism has been created to encourage, equip, and empower men and women, boys and girls, younger and older folks to share the good news of the kingdom in their own neighborhoods. The Ontario Conference School of Evangelism started its very first session in March 2013. The school was established to equip students with tools for evangelism. It aims to help each student realize his or her God-given gifts and talents that can be used for God's work. Through its extensive training of preparing students to reach others for Christ, students affirm that a conversion of the heart and the spirit is necessary for effective evangelism.
When I attended OCSE, I was not a member of the Adventist Church because I was not baptized yet. I was regularly attending church and I was very involved, but I just didn't feel the urgency to get baptized. During the class at OCSE, I was convinced that this movement is the remnant church through our studies. After learning more, I felt convicted to get baptized. I felt a sense of urgency to do God's work, which fueled an urgency to commit myself to Him through baptism.
The Ontario Conference School of Evangelism offers 14 classes, one Sunday each month over a 13-month period. Subjects include church history, doctrines, and techniques for Bible study and preaching. Not only have students learned how to reach people for Christ in a traditional manner, but it has encouraged them to think of creative methods for evangelism.
Whenever I write sermons, I like to ask my co-workers to edit them for me. I'm not asking them to come to an evangelistic series or to commit their lives to Christ out of the blue. I'm simply asking them to read things over for me. As they read over the material, it then gets them asking questions. At that point, I can start a conversation with them, answer their questions, and pique their interest. The goal is to win them to Christ in a way that will not completely turn them off.
Learning about evangelism is an experience that is open to all individuals, young and old. There are students who are as young as 17 and as old as 70. As students of OCSE relay their experiences, they all agree that they would recommend the school to all church members.
I would recommend OCSE to all church members. It has something for everyone. The courses are diverse and everyone can benefit from the diversity to improve in the areas of personal development and evangelism. Since evangelism is the mission of our church, every opportunity to be more effective in our evangelism should be encouraged.
Students continually utilize the skills and apply the lessons that they learned during their time at the Ontario Conference School of Evangelism. They are conducting Bible studies, preaching evangelistic series, and introducing many people to Jesus.
I will always be grateful for what the School of Evangelism has taught me. I learned a tremendous amount in every area and topic that the instructors covered. It helped me to understand the Bible, evangelism and outreach, and church history. The people I've met, both fellow students and pastors, have impacted me in so many positive ways.
As the students move on from the school and into the field, let us pray that God uses each student in a mighty way for the progress of His church. Mamawi-Ataskatan Native School is the North American Division's largest ministry to the people of the First Nations. It's a story of hope amid difficult times, a story of believing in young men and young women and their potential to change their communities in Canada in a positive way for Christ. Take a look. Mamawi-Ataskatan Native School was established in 2003 to serve the 4 bands of the Masquatchie's Cree Nation in the province of Alberta. The school provides education to approximately 200 students from kindergarten to grade 12. Not only does the school instill knowledge in their students, they also aim to incorporate hope in their curriculum.
For us, hope is very important. It's the essence of why we're all here and why we as educators come to work in the morning. It's the whole purpose of instilling hope in the students, that there's something more out there. For us, instilling hope into a child is even more important than even the ABCs.
As an Adventist teacher, Sherry Notice is required to teach all the subjects, including music. While teaching her students songs and beats, they were unresponsive to the material. This prompted Ms. Notice to try and teach them something she was passionate about, sign language. The students quickly embraced the art, making it their own.
When I teach sign language to my kids, there are so many different songs that they take to. You can see the passion when they sign. I noticed them actually internalizing the meaning of the songs and using it in their everyday life. To me, that's encouraging because they're learning strategies on how they can deal with stress and how they can cope with their day-to-day life.
In 2011, the school began to add high school classes in order to further meet the needs of their students. The high school dropout rate is 6 times higher for Canadian First Nations youth compared to the non-Aboriginal youth. 61% of Canadian First Nations youth drop out of high school. The school established the Man's Bridge campaign under the leadership of Larry Wilton. They realized the need to bridge the gap between grade 9 and post-secondary education, especially when parents and students began to make requests to the institution.
A few years ago, 2 of our best students came to Gail Wilton, the principal, and they had a very unusual request. They asked to be failed. They wanted to stick around and wait until the new high school was built for them to move forward in their education. That same summer, one of our grade 9 graduates was shot to death on the reservation. At that point, it became clear to us that we could no longer turn those kids away. We had to do something, and we had to do it now. We began by building a large two-room addition in the back to house grades 10 and 11. That was there to buy us a little time, to raise funds, to build enough space for the high school building. A year or two later, when the oil prices crashed here in Alberta, an oil company ordered 2 custom portables. They had placed a substantial deposit on them, but they did not want to accept delivery of them anymore and pay the final bill. So one thing led to another, and we were given the opportunity to buy the portables at a ridiculously reduced price. We put the portables on the property, and the school now provides education to students from kindergarten through to grade 12. Just last year, we graduated 2 individuals from grade 12. Mans provides a loving and safe environment for these kids. They're free to be kids, free to be happy, free to experience the joy of childhood with no fear. When kids experience that, they're able to dream and to hope. It's important for us to do our part by supporting and praying for this school, so that every life they encounter is once again filled with hope.
This I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones do hit me long. They are weak, but he is strong. Way-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh.
St. John's Seventh-day Adventist Church is intentional when it comes to community outreach and community involvement. The church has initiated numerous outreach projects in order to minister to the needs of the people in their community. In hopes of continuing to grow spiritually, St. John's Seventh-day Adventist Church engages in 2 particular community outreach programs: Sunday Soup Supper and Bridges 101. Both programs were developed based on a particular member's passion and an identified need in their community.
Randy Noseworthy, who's a member of our church, attended a seminar by Ruthie Jacobson, and she spoke about the concepts in her book called Bridges 101. And Randy was inspired by the things that he learned and immediately set out to apply those concepts when he arrived back home in St. John's.
Sunday Soup Supper is held on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Sundays of each month. Community members who are in need of a meal are offered 2 or 3 kinds of soup, crackers, juice, and a dessert. The ministry serves a wide range of individuals, from the homeless to those on social assistance to those who with a disability. In order to serve those in need, the ministry relies on the willingness of volunteers to cook and to serve food.
We prepare a light hot meal, usually soup, rolls, drinks, and dessert. And we just open it to anybody in the community who wants to come. And these are usually people who are in need of a hot meal and will come in and enjoy not just the meal, but the opportunity to sit and chat and visit. And that we have a core group of people who come back week after week, who really appreciate the service we offer, really enjoy it, and always go out of their way to tell us how much it means to them and how much they like both the food and the company there. We really do make an effort to treat the people who come like guests rather than like clients, I guess. We have table service, we bring food to people rather than making them line up for it, and we always try to have a few volunteers who will sit down and chat and visit with the people, and that's something that both the volunteers and the community guests seem to really appreciate.
While the Sunday Soup Supper focuses on providing meals for the hungry, Bridges 101 aims to find creative, non-traditional methods of reaching out to the community.
One of the standout things that Randy and Bridges 101 ministry did was to purchase oranges and apples that would then be placed in gift bags, along with witnessing literature, and they would be handed out to the people. They would visit the hospitals, they'd go to the parks, hand out fruit bags to people walking on the trails.
The St. John's Seventh-day Adventist Church has seen the fruits of their community involvement. They have been able to touch the lives of the people around them ministering to them through a more hands-on approach?
I would say the simplest answer to why community outreach of this type is important is just because it's what Jesus told us to do. Without looking at what longer term consequences there might be, although obviously there are some. To me, the biggest thing is Jesus said to feed the hungry, and there are people in our community who are hungry and who aren't in a position where they're able to get good, regular, nutritious meals. So we do it because he told us to.
Each one of these powerful stories is an illustration of how God can use a group of people, a school, a church, individuals like you and me, to make a change in someone's life. And that's why we exist, to make the story of Jesus real, in real time, for real people, in real communities across Canada. The SDACC exists to help ministry happen. Behind the scenes are gifted people who work to provide support for conferences, institutions, and ministries, and ultimately, the people of our church. Wherever we are, we have a story of promise to share, of a God who is present, a God who cares, a God who can change people's lives. I am delighted to be a part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada, people whose backgrounds are in cultures all over the world, people who know a great God, and people who love to serve. One of these days, we will see a little spot in the sky that gets bigger and brighter. Jesus is coming soon. And when Jesus is coming, nothing else really matters. Thank you for being a part of the Adventist family across Canada.